Dale Cowan here with Agris and Wanstead Farmers Cooperative. Day 3 of the Great Lakes Grain Crop Assessment Tour. So as you've seen in other videos in the series on the tour, we've talked a lot about variability and maturity. So the way we're handling the variability, as we've seen in other video clips, is with our aerial imagery that we're breaking up into performance zones and then creating our yield counts within those zones and getting a nice weighted average on the field. And what's becoming evident, of course, is the wide swings in yield that we see. And what's really evident is you see what it takes to get a 200 bushel average. So if you see areas in the field or acres in the field coming in at 110, that means you need an offsetting acre at 290 bushels to average 200 bushels on the field. So what we're seeing is the bottom end isn't falling out completely. Our genetics are protecting that bottom end yield with better stress tolerance. But we're kind of missing those acres of really high yield to offset that. And I think that's the big difference this year, is in terms of lack of heat units and somewhat the quality of light that we're getting this year. So heat units, we're down about anywhere from 150 to 300 across the territory, and that's definitely showing in the crop. When you think of yield as a function of genetics, environment, and management, those three combinations are explaining exactly what we're seeing out in the field. So I don't think it comes as any surprise what's happening at various stages. Last year at this time, 100% of the sites on the yield assessment were in the dint stage. This year, 60% are still in the milk stage. We have only a handful, maybe 12-15% of the acres are actually in the dint stage this year. So it just speaks to the maturity differences year over year. On our Ag Grower Daily Dashboard, some of our 80 weather stations have illumination sensors, and what that's measuring is the intensity and duration of sunlight. And as of July, we were down about 6 to 8% on light quality versus a year ago. And that's going to directly play into things like sugar production. Photosynthesis needs light, less sugar produced. That's going to impact potentially on bushel weight on corn. And moreover, it's going to start to cannibalize the stocks for sugar as that cob fills through the grain fill period. So one of our pre-harvest checks that we're going to recommend is triaging your fields with the pinch and push test on the stalk to assess your stalk quality and standability going into harvest. That's going to be one of the important things this year related to this light quality. When it comes to soybeans, same sort of parameters are involved. We've had just about any kind of weather you can imagine, hot and wet, dry and wet, cool and dry. We've had it all, and each one of those brings in a different set of diseases on the soybeans. So perhaps we're seeing the biggest range of diseases in a field we've ever seen. The usual characters of Phytophthora and Rhizoc, some of the SCN still with us, sudden death syndrome, white mold even showed up, even though we didn't really expect it in some areas in the farm. So we have these things coming in that's going to pull down and put some stresses on the soybean crop. But the good news is the pod counts are up over last year substantially, so I think the bean size might be down. So we're probably looking at a bean yield that's maybe comparable to last year, but we're only halfway through the grain assessment tours. We're going to have to wait to see how things finish up. So we'll come back to you on Friday when we know a little more and have a few more of our sites analyzed, and we'll give you a better handle on where we think the corn and soybean yields are going to end up for 2017.